once everybody who was in the line at 7 o'clock has voted. Some extensions expected. Let's speak to the Independent Electoral Commission. I'm joined by the Deputy Chair, Terry Tlalane. Great to have you with us. How are you feeling, sir?
I feel great.
Exhausted, I'm sure.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the biggest operations you can ever have in a country. We have 26 million registered voters. To be precise, 26,333,335 people who are registered on our voters roll. We've got about 22,612 voting stations and voting districts. Now, there's a massive operation, and when you come to a point now where you are about to conclude the process, of course we feel much more relieved that the process went well. There have been hiccups here and there, but nothing really insurmountable, and we are satisfied that we have actually reached this level as a commission.
During the last IEC briefing, that was the sense that nothing too serious was reported in terms of violence. But then we heard that shots had been fired near a station in Limpopo. Any more clarity on that?
Yeah, well, we're still investigating the matter, but the information that we receive is that in Malamulele, a police officer was dispossessed of a firearm, and one of the voters actually used that firearm or discharged the firearm and injuring a person. But the information at this stage is still very scanty.
Sure. Do we know if he's been arrested? That sounds quite serious, taking a gun off an officer.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, that the information is still very scanty. We will get to know exactly what has happened after the investigation has been done. Our processes at the moment is just to focus on the elections and the readiness and how we have been able to conduct this massive operation, and we are satisfied thus far with this operation.
Okay, we were hearing that in the Free State, some tents were blown away. There may be extensions, possibly extensions in the Eastern Cape. What do you know about extended voting hours right now?
No. We're not going to be extending the voting hours. However, a person who is at a voting station will be allowed to cast a vote. In other words, we are not going to be saying that just because the voting stations close at 7 o'clock and therefore every person who is at the voting station who by that time had not cast a vote should leave the station. We'll allow people to vote even if it takes 5 hours after 7 o'clock. We will allow it to continue until such time that we've catered for each and every person who is at a voting station. Okay, our officials understand that, and then this is the instruction that we've given to them.
So not a special dispensation then if those tents were blown away. You just have to get and be in the line right now, basically.
There is no need really to create a new dispensation or a different dispensation for those areas because as long as a person is at a voting station, that person will actually be catered for.
Probably one of the big events today was the dismissal of officials from 2 voting stations in KwaZulu-Natal. It sounds unprecedented. I think 41 officials was the number. Is that highly unusual? And what do we make of it? If 2 stations were colluding, what was this? Influencing voters? What exactly was going on?
No, if any of our officials operate or conducts himself or herself inconsistently with the conduct of our organization or our expectation of a person who is running this operation, then we've got absolutely no option but to make sure that that person is not part of our processes. And therefore, and I agree with you that this is for the first time that on the day of the elections we dismiss so many people. But unfortunately, we've had to be very, very careful. We've had to make sure that we satisfy all our people, make people feel that these elections have been run with integrity and professionalism, and any person who conducts themselves with a conduct that is inconsistent with our expectation, we've got absolutely no option but to make sure that that person is not part of our processes.
What were they doing?
Like I'm saying, it's a matter that we're still investigating, but I can say confidently that their behavior was inconsistent with the values of this organization.
Would it not educate people to let them know what behavior is unacceptable? In Mthatha, we do know a president and a presiding officer were fired for trying to influence voters. Is that the kind of thing that's been happening?
It could be one of those, but I don't want to raise an issue as though the issues that were applicable in Mthatha applicable throughout the country. But the issue that we are raising is indeed correct. We take people through training, and after we've taken people through training, our expectation is that they're going to behave in a manner that is consistent with the values of this organization.
It leaves you with a little bit of an uneasy feeling that so many officials were involved. Should we then suspect that other stations were involved and it wasn't detected?
No, not at all. I mean, this actually is testament to the fact that this organization is very vigilant. We've got systems, and then once we realize that our systems are being compromised, we take action, we take very firm action. And for people who have been doubting our capacity as an organization to take very firm steps against those people who are acting inconsistent with our values, now they can see that we really mean business. We want people to operate in a particular manner, and if they don't operate in that manner, we've got no option but to make sure that we summarily dismiss those.
And will this mean any changes to vetting systems in future? How do you vet officials that join the IEC?
We've got a very extensive system that we're using for purpose of vetting people that are part of our organization. Firstly, we make them apply, they go through a rigorous process. After having gone through that particular process, we subject them again to the party liaison committees at the local level. In other words, we take the names of all the individuals that we are taking, particularly as presiding officers and deputy presiding officers. We give them to the party liaison committees, because as you would imagine, we would not know these individuals sitting here at the national level. So we assume that party liaison committee members at the local level would actually know these people, and then if they feel that there is something untoward about these people, they would then inform us and say, these people are not fit to be part of your process. So we take them to the parties, and the parties, after having looked at this, they say these people are fine. Our systems also say these people are fine, and then we then deploy them in various areas. So if there is a breach such as the one that we've experienced, we've got absolutely no option but to act very firmly and make sure that such a thing does not actually recur in our processes.
All right, let's look at 650 hotspots that were identified. How many of those were troublesome today?
I think to a large extent the law enforcement agencies have been able to arrest the situation. We had Vuani as one of the most difficult areas. As you may be aware, when we open our voting stations for purpose of registration in the past, it was not possible for us to operate in Vuani. But this time around, we've been able to open all our voting stations in Vuani. People managed to vote, and I think it's a fantastic thing. We are excited from our side.
Are you really? Because it sounds like the turnout is going to be incredibly low. Those soccer games went ahead. I guess not much you can do, but it sounds like hardly anybody went to those stations.
No, the figures that we have indicate that those who were interested in participating in the elections were able to participate in the elections. Remember, in South Africa, it is not compulsory for people to participate in the elections. It's a voluntary act. It's not like in Australia, where it is compulsory for people to participate in the processes. In our case, it is voluntary, and therefore those people who decided to go and play soccer instead of actually participating in the elections, they are acting within their right, and therefore there's nothing that we can actually do.
Not much you can do. In finality, we're out of time. I appreciate your time. So everybody who's in the queue right now will get a chance to vote, even if it takes 5-6 hours and voting continues overnight.
Absolutely. For as long as there are people in the queue, they will be allowed to participate in this process, even if they continue voting until tomorrow morning. We will allow them to go through the process.
All right, and kudos to those IEC officials who stay up all night. Thank you for your time, the IEC Deputy Chair, Terry Tselani.